So today we are talking about karma and using karma to your advantage. So karma is a Sanskrit word that means action. It is the movement of the relative world. So we can call the entire system of creation and destruction karma, in a way. And if we zoom way, way out and we look at karma, it is this manifestation of enlightenment. Ultimately, it is this process by which the ultimate, the absolute, becomes relative and experiences itself. So awareness, being aware of awareness. But that doesn't really help us. It sounds pretty, but in day-to-day life, with everything blowing up and systems falling apart and other ones sprouting up, but awareness, aware of awareness, it sounds nice, right? And it's true, you can experience it. So it's helpful to kind of start to zoom in a little closer, and as we do that, we start to see the differentiation. Buddha called karma inconceivable because there are limitless causes and conditions that have arisen out of karma, out of this endless movement. All of these different causes and conditions arise. Your being alone, what you call you, consists of 5 different streams of karma, tied up just in what you call you. Now multiply that by 8 billion plus people. So now you have 5 times 8 billion. And then you have the karma from everyone that has ever lived. And then you have the karma from everything that has ever come into existence, every type of being, every type of object. So quickly we see, yes, karma is inconceivable. All of these different streams interacting and playing together and manifesting what we experience on a day-to-day basis. Does that mean that we are completely helpless and that our karma is something outside of us and that we're being just thrown around helplessly? No, because we are awareness itself. So we can start to learn from karma, we can start to observe these currents on which we are experiencing life. Now there's this great temptation that happens when we start to become aware of the movement of karma, and that is our sense of control. We jump in and we see, oh, that's how it works. Okay, well, I'm just going to use my volition, my will, and push everything this way so I have the outcome that I want. And that's possible because that is one of the 5 streams of karma of which you are made, is volition, where we have choice, free will. But you have these other 4 aggregates that have their own karma that may be on a different trajectory. So that's where we start to get into internal wars with ourselves. That's where we get into external wars as well. And then there's the complication of actually thinking we own our own karma. that's when we make it personal. And for the purpose of this discussion today, we will keep it personal. But as you progress along the path, just file this away for later, that what keeps you bound is this sense of ownership. So I'm just going to plant that little seed. And you can look at that later when you're ready. But while we're in here, while we think that we own these bodies and that we have this ability to control the world, we do have a certain level of influence. We have certain proclivities, and one of the major proclivities that we have as humans is we rely upon routine. The planet itself relies upon routine. We have the turning of the seasons. We go into, we're coming into spring and summer, and then fall and winter, and then we'll do it again. Spring, summer, fall, winter, and we have this wonderful rhythm. And if we tap into that rhythm, we can start to use it as a North Star, as a guiding principle for our life. We can actually tap into that movement of energy, that movement of planetary karma, and make our lives better, make our movement through the world a little smoother, a little more gentle. And now the same thing is happening within our own bodies. We have a circadian rhythm of when we want to sleep and when we want to be awake. And we can force ourselves to change it. That's a very popular thing. But that creates a certain level of friction because we're fighting against this natural rhythm that is part of our body's karma. But if we have the economic freedom to select our own hours of when we're awake and when we're asleep, and again, that is a privilege. Not everybody has that option. But if you do, if you're able to set up your life in such a way where you have the choice of when to be awake and when to be asleep, that can be very beneficial to start to figure out when am I most alert and awake, and how is my wake and sleep cycle working. And not everybody sleeps all at once, for 8 hours straight. There's documentation from medieval times. They call it the second sleep, where people would go to sleep for a couple hours and then they'd wake up and they'd be active for another hour and then they go back to sleep and have a second sleep. I know my body does that. I wake up usually for a little while and go back and have my second sleep. And then other people, they have that full 8 hours straight or 6 hours. I always try to get at least 6 hours rest within a 24-hour period. It's very helpful. But that's just one other layer of karma, one of the streams. Now, one of the most interesting one that we have a lot of influence over is our mental karma, of how our mind is interacting with ourselves and the world. And this is where we train, where we practice mindfulness, where we explore contemplation. Because by starting to train our mind, we use this force of movement, this karmic flow, and we start to change the routines and patterns that have developed in our being unconsciously, and we make them conscious. Because, like it or not, we're going to create routines and habits. That's just how our bodies, our human minds work. That's how we gain equilibrium. anytime that our routines are disrupted, and check in on yourself and see if this is true for you, but I know it certainly is for me. Anytime our routines are disrupted, we feel a little uneasy, we feel a little off balance, we feel a little confused. We're like, okay, I know I need to do things, but where is everything? And then within a day or two, we start to form a new routine, a new habit very quickly. And it's not necessarily always something that's supportive to our life. Sometimes we just pick up whatever people are doing around us, and we fall into that routine. And that's an unconscious habit that we start to develop. And it might bring us into very dark mind states where we're not happy, where we're filled with misery. But this is where we have choice. If we practice meditation, we start to become more aware of what's happening in our own being. We practice mindfulness, which the first step is just to pay attention, to start to watch, where is my mind going? How am I feeling? What am I doing with my time? And then we start to notice, well, how does that pattern playing out? If I am glued to the news and I'm seeing all these horrific things happening, where is that line from being informed to being enraged to being overwhelmed and falling into despair? There's many people right now that are caught in that cycle. That's what they do all day long. But if we're paying attention and we're watching that happen, then we can notice that, okay, now I'm informed. Let me switch my focus and see what can I do, what is needing to be done, what is it that I need to do right now. And it doesn't need to be this big grand thing. It might be, oh, I should go make my bed, and that breaks the cycle of being glued to the news, and it puts us back in our body and opens up the opportunities for other actions to happen. So this is how this flow of karma is always happening, but we don't have to stay stuck in the same little cycle. There's a much bigger cycle happening if we avail ourselves to it. And at a most basic level, making karma work for us is just watching how our mind is reacting every single moment. Noticing what thoughts are arising and what those thoughts are leading to. So we start to actually see this thought train that's happening, and we can actually become aware of the moment that we step onto a particular thought train. And that train of thought takes us on a ride, takes us in a karmic cycle. But as we become aware, we start to notice that, oh, I'm getting back on the same train again. I've done this cycle. And at that moment, it becomes a moment of choice, because now we're aware. And we can say, okay, I've already done that train. What other trains are available right now? What else is happening that I can focus on? And that's really the key to utilizing this constant force of karma. We can't make it stop. We can't control the innumerable causes and conditions that are arising in the world. But we do have the choice and ability to select the focus of our mind. no matter what is happening, no matter whether you're having the best time of your life or the worst time of your life, there's this awareness within each one of us that can select a focal point. So, like an example, I was having a root canal once. And I don't know if you guys have had one, but they can be very painful. And I have jaw issues on top of it. And so the guy is, not listening that I need to not have this bite block because it's like making my jaw spasm. And I'm having just these waves and waves of intense, horrific pain. And in that moment, I could keep focusing on how horrific the pain was, or I could key into the other sensations that were happening. The smells in the room, the feeling of the chair. I could push my mind into realms of light in that moment. At the time, we were reading about the different hell worlds that a Buddhist teacher went into excruciating details about. So that's what we were reading. So in that moment of having this torturous thing happening in my mouth, I was able to connect with that concept of those beings that are in hell that are experiencing pain for thousands and thousands of years. And it brought it into perspective, like, oh, this is only going to be an hour. So that allowed me to generate immense compassion for those that are stuck, living through hell for thousands and thousands of years. And even compassion for those who are in a mental hell, that have been doing it for an entire lifetime. And their parents have done it through their lifetime, and now their children are doing it through their lifetime. So we have this opportunity to direct the focus of our mind and actually use this movement of karma to our advantage. So in that case of the root canal, initially it was all about escape, right? It's like, oh, I don't like this sensation, so let me find a different sensation, focus on that. But as I found my equilibrium, then it opened up deeper and said, oh, wait, I can actually use this experience to generate a deeper sense of compassion for others. And then that experience not only helped my tooth, it actually generated and changed my being, so I'm much more compassionate towards others, people who are caught in a cycle of pain. So we learn about karma on the path, not just to make our lives better, which it does, but also to generate and cultivate even more awareness and kind of stretch ourselves beyond our current configuration. And in that way, our entire being becomes part of this transformation that's happening continually. So we have this opportunity every single moment of every single day. And it starts by just paying attention and asking yourself, is this a happy thought? Is it progressive? Do I feel free right now? Or am I just spinning out onto an old train that I've been on 1,000 times before? And if you're feeling, up and happy and free, then enjoy it. Just keep paying attention. Keep noticing. It's not an opportunity just to coast, because that leads to inattention, that forgetfulness, and then you'll wind up on a train and you won't know how you got there. But if, on the other hand, you're on this painful, suffering place, use that as fuel to say, oh, okay, I'm suffering right now. It might be just a little bit of suffering, or it might be something really, really big. And instead of thrashing and fighting and saying, I don't want this, instead look at it. Allow yourself to really, really look at what is happening. And then move the focus of your mind to that which is bright, that which is beautiful, that which you can have gratitude for. And what this does is it shifts us in a very radical way. And the more that we do this consciously, that in itself becomes a new routine, a new habit. So we'll be going about our day, and if we've been practicing this consistently, then we might get caught up watching the news. Or, we're back watching the news again. Things are happening in the world, everything's shifting. And then we get caught up with the groupthink and the movement, and we find ourselves suffering. But if we've been doing this practice, then this inner pattern kicks in. It's like this little nudge. Something internal just kind of starts poking us. And before we even know what's happening, we've suddenly shifted to a different perspective, and we're not just caught in the group think and the train again, because this is our new routine. It's like, oh, I'm spun out into a very heavy, dark, limited mind state, and then our mind comes in and says, oh, when we're there, then we move into beauty, into gratitude, and we shift. So it's as if we've trained ourselves. This is why we do mind training, because it actually starts to do it on its own. And by paying attention to when that happens, it reinforces the pattern, and we're able to keep doing it over and over again. So that's how you can use this force of karma to your advantage. Does that make sense? You're all gonna go practice your karma instead of being drowned by it. So of course all this is possible because we meditate. If we don't do our seated meditation, then it's really difficult to actually see what's happening. We just get inundated with more and more thoughts. So let's practice some more.